Okay, are we back? Sorry about that. Are we back on? Let's see. Yes, it's good now. Okay, great. Thank you for your patience. Thank you, Comrade Johan, for calling in. I really like what Johan said, and it reminds me of. Um, sorry, I have to turn this down. It reminds me I was doing outreach last week, and this fellow, I was selling newspapers, and we were quite successful, really. And this white man, he had a lot of things to say. Like, he was like, "How do you know I'm white?" and whatnot. I was like, "Well, visually, you look white." So, um, but he was saying something like, "I stand in solidarity with people. I just don't want to buy a newspaper." And what Johan is talking about, which is, coming from the party's work, is that this is our responsibility. That we don't get to just say that we're in solidarity with people. We don't get to just be here and be in So let me pop this thing out again. Uhuru. Thank you. Okay. So the main point there, which Johan puts so amazingly, and always does, and Johan has a really good sense of that, is that it's not just that we can do this if we want to. It's not like this is an option for us, because if we're not doing this work of returning the stolen resources that we own, that we have, then we are just keeping them. And we are keeping them from the people that should have them. We're keeping the wealth, the capital that we have, which is really just the resources. If we're keeping the diamonds and the chocolate and the gold and the flowers and the this and the that, all the wealth that we have in the white communities, which is 22 times the amount of wealth that there is in African communities, in the borders of this prison that we call the United States. Getting aggressive. We have to return, the white community has to return that. As long as the white community is holding on to that, as long as we white people are holding on to that, we have the blood in our bank accounts. We have the blood in our homes. We have the blood on our clothes. We have the blood on our shoes. We have the blood in our wallets, in our pockets, on our rings, on everything. It's still there. It doesn't look like, this is the thing that white people don't get. It doesn't look like blood because it doesn't look like the blood that created it. And also, we're separated from it. The white community is isolated in our mansions, in our houses, in our private neighborhoods, in our special gentrified areas. And we force out the people that are suffering. And we're separate from the laborers, the working class on the continent of Africa, the other colonized people around the world. We're separated from them, so we don't see the blood. Unless we take this opportunity, this amazing opportunity, to learn about it from the perspective of the African colonized working class. So this is the biggest responsibility of our time for white people. This is the moment. This now, historically, for white people, if you're white, this is what matters. It's not something to follow along in. That's called tailism in, whatever, historically, in other revolutionary movements. Oh, someone else will lead the work, and we'll follow when we get there. No, we have to be right there. Because as white people, the blood is on our hands, as I keep saying. We will not have happiness. We will not be able to progress as white people ourselves, as women, as gay people, as people with pink hair, with earrings, as me, Connor. I'm not going to be able to progress if I am part of this system. So I have to, like Johan said, we have to break away from our ruling class. Because if we follow along in our lives, the ruling class got us. They got a big net. They got a lot of people sweeping people into the net. They don't even have to be organized. They have a whole system working for them. Military, police. They don't have to be organized. The working class, the African working class, has to be organized as heck. That's what this article is about. It's about organization and the importance of manuals and all that stuff. Am I still live? I can't tell. I'm getting all excited. I'm not looking at anything. Chat settings. Done. I'm going to pop this window out again. Why isn't this happening? For some reason, the chat, I'm having trouble seeing it, so I'm just fixing that right now. Breaking it down. Why isn't it letting me? Come on, pop out. There we go. All right. So just to finish. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, just to finish up that thought, that we will be united. We are born united with the ruling class in a way. I mean, we're born into that. We're born into this violence. And so when white people are saying, oh, you know, I wasn't there, I wasn't a slave master, I wasn't killing people with my own hands, you know, in a way, you've got other people that did it for you. You had your ancestors do it for you, so you didn't have to. But you're born into it. You got to pay for this now. You got to deal with it. You know, our ancestors killed people, killed thousands, millions of people, indigenous people, African people, and some people they didn't kill, they just enslaved and tortured them. That's what this land is. Even though there's no blood like right in front of me, that's what this land represents. That's what the physical materials in our life represent. Okay, I'm getting all excited and angry, but that's where we're at. Okay. Jackson's question. Uhuru comrade, what would you say to a white person who says that gentrification is good and that we need a mixing of cultures or just to all get along? So this came up in the outreach that I was doing last week too. We went to this love parade. Me and a local comrade, Talia, went to this love parade, and there were all these white people dancing around. There were a couple people of, you know, African people and other colonized people that were there. But generally it was white people that were, you know, dancing and beating a drum. They were beating their drum so loud they couldn't hear me when I came up and was like, excuse me, do you know about the burning spear? Excuse me. So, you know, there is this popular notion in the white community that we need to all get along. And it comes from not seeing the blood. It comes from that same thing of not understanding the relationship. Because when you don't see the blood, when you don't see the history, when you don't see the wealth, when you don't see the disparity, the inherited disparity, the historical material disparity between colonized people and colonizers, when you don't understand that relationship, when you don't see how bloody and terrible it is and the pain that it causes, you think, oh, they're right there. You know, they're so close to me. Oh, we're both humans. We can all get along and whatnot. And when you get wrapped up in this bourgeois ideology of it's all about ideology and just how we think, and we need to change how we think, you lose track of the fact that some people are starving. African people are starving in the borders of this country and around the world. They don't have the basic things they need. How are you supposed to talk about, oh, some academic approach, some, you know, ideology, when people are not able to feed their children and their families? Like, the room for that comes later. If what, you know, not even late. Like, we just got to do, okay. Mixing of cultures, all just get along. Yeah. Gentrification is good. No, I mean, you've clearly never talked to an African person talking about gentrification. If you're a white person and you think that gentrification is good, you've never talked to someone who's been in a community, an African community or an indigenous community that's had their land gentrified, had their rents pushed up, had to move their whole livelihood. I mean, that's what it comes down to. You probably just don't know anyone who's been part of that on that side of that economy. And maybe you like low rent or whatnot. Okay. Oh, we're over time, but I'm gonna wrap this up. Okay, Jackson. How do we join this movement? How do we contribute? And how do we subscribe to the Burning Spear? Okay, wrapping up. This is the last thing on my agenda. Okay. So, spear sales. Are we still live? Okay. Spear sales. So, if you want to buy the spear, you can go to theburningspear.com. What? Kalambai? Oh, Kalambai's live. We've got to finish up so we can go over and watch Kalambai. So you can buy it online at the Burning Spear Marketplace. So type in your search window the Burning Spear Marketplace, and you click. There's a tab that says the Spear, and you can buy an individual subscription. It's really cheap, and you'll get a monthly issue. I have a lot of friends that have done that. If you're interested in distributing, there's a special rate if you buy more than 25 copies. So if you do that, then you can get a ton of copies, and then you can read them all yourself. No. You can share them with people. You can take them out in the street. You can give them to your friends, give them as gifts. I carry a couple around with me in case somebody starts asking questions or they clearly don't know what they're talking about, so that I can be like, hey, I know this, there's this newspaper here. If they really need it, I'll give it to them, but, that's rare. Usually, so you charge them $1 and they get a copy of the paper. If you want to be in USM, you can join USM at uhurusolidarity.org, and you can also comment here and do all that stuff. So that's how you join the movement. And once you join, you can, if you have questions about joining, you can talk to us, talk to me, hit me up on Facebook. You can come to one of our orientations. You do not need to be a member to come to an orientation. And you can email info at uhurusolidarity.org for information about that. You can register. That's how you become a member. There's all different levels of membership for yearly rates, monthly rates, and weekly rates. If you have questions about selling spears or doing outreach, also contact us. Or, if you're white, contact us. If you're not white, if you're African, contact the party or contact the spear staff. If you're non-white but you're not African, you can contact the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement in Pedem and find a local chapter. So if you're white and you're interested in USM, we have branches. We have 2 full branches, one in Seattle and one in Boston. So if you're in either of those places, you got to go to those meetings. You got to come to those meetings and figure out what's up. They're doing outreach. I don't have the dates, but if you contact them, they'll let you know. Oh, St. Pete. St. Pete the Solidarity Committee sells does spear sales every Friday. So if you're free on Friday, go, pick up a copy. And there's a lot of stuff going on in St. Pete. That's where the party's based. So the campaigns are going on. Jesse Neville for mayor, Eritha Akile Canyon for District 6 councilwoman. So those are ramping up this summer, and in August is going to be the election. We also have large groups, we have members, at least some members, larger groups in other areas. If you're here in Brooklyn or in New York or around, you can, we're doing outreach tomorrow, Sunday at 2 p.m. If you're in Boston, where we have a branch, the 13th, next weekend, they're doing spear outreach. If you're in Fort Lauderdale, we have a member, Kafira Barron, who's there. And if you're in upstate New York, we have a few new members, Valerie and another new member. I need to know all the members' names. So that's how you do it. That's the spear. Oh, we're 5 minutes over. Any last questions? Uhuru. Anyone on the phone? All right. Thanks for tuning in. You have any other? Excellent study, Uhuru. It's been very helpful, your leadership, Jackson. So thanks for tuning in. We will be having this spear study every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So right here, we'll get started on time, everything. Next week, we'll be starting with the May issue. So if you have the April issue, great. There's plenty to read in the April issue. some of my favorite articles, especially if you're doing outreach. Oh, we should do like best articles to talk about in outreach, or I don't know. They're all best. But some of the articles about feminism are really good when you're talking to people who are ostensibly feminists and whatnot. Okay. So next week we'll be doing the May issue. We'll be doing the point of the spear again, I think, because I think it's a little shorter and maybe we can get to another article. We'll be on time. I'll have all the kinks ironed out with the technically and stuff. And I think we'll do something maybe different with the call-in stuff, or I don't know. But there'll be a registration link at the Eventbrite. So that's Uhuru Solidarity, UHURU, Solidarity. .eventbrite.com will have all the information for the events. Next weekend we also have all USM members worldwide meeting. So every member from everywhere, all over the world, USM can come to that meeting. And that's also, the registration is on the Eventbrite as well. So that's great. The links, I think I put them in the description box. I'll make sure that they're there for joining and all that stuff. You can do it right now. Thanks. Have a revolutionary day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for supporting me on this very first Burning Spear study. Uhuru!